Hey everybody, Roman here. Happy Friday. It's actually September 3rd, Friday afternoon. Hope you had a great week. My week was busy. I spent almost the entire week head down writing. I'll tell you what I was writing in just a couple of minutes, but first, I want to say something about the financial aid questions that I'm seeing on like Facebook groups and online forums that have to do with college financial aid. They're just lighting up with questions about the FAFSA, about the CSS profile, about how to get money, like what they should be doing. Like this is all for parents with high school seniors beginning to like freak out about how they're going to pay for college just come next year. And the reason this happens is because, well, quite honestly, colleges are expensive. I don't have to tell you that. But it's interesting that to me, being in the financial aid space, September is actually the calm before the storm, if you will, because generally most of that frenzy happens on October 1st or after October 1st when the FAFSA and the financial aid form goes live and people begin to submit those applications. In fact, there are 18 million people every single year that rush to fill out the FAFSA as soon as it opens up on October 1st. Well, in all fairness, it's not quite like the feeding frenzy. It's not like a mosh pit of 18 million people, like parents and their kids just jumping in, grabbing as much financial aid as they can. It's not that dramatic. But 18 million people do complete the FAFSA every single year in hopes of finding financial aid. It just doesn't happen all at once. But if you've heard me say this many times in the past, that financial aid is given out on a first come, first served basis. And so all of those forward-looking parents that know that they have to be among the first in line after October 1st financial aid season opening, that's why they're asking all these great questions in hopes of doing all the right things to get the money. And so I urge you that if you are a parent of a high school senior, start now. Like, don't delay, because starting October 1st, 18 million people are going to go to complete the same exact forms that you are going to have to complete looking for money. And you want to get there in line way ahead of everyone else, because there will be 18 million people. It's a big number. But what's a bigger number? Is 2 billion with a B. 2 billion is the number of dollars that the financial aid system doesn't give out. Meaning that, actually, it's not the right way of saying it. It wants to give it out, but people make mistakes or they disqualify themselves and they do something along the way and they can't collect that $2 billion. So the $2 billion is the leftover year after year. The government alone sets aside $30 billion every single year to be given out in financial aid to everybody that completes the FAFSA, to those 18 million people. And $2 billion remains unclaimed year after year. And it happens because those 18 million people will make some number of mistakes along the way that will disqualify them from some of the financial aid that they should have qualified for, that they should have gotten, but they won't. And so the government just keeps that money and they'll throw it into the pot for next year. And for many, many years, this keeps happening year after year after year. And I see the frustration, because every year in the spring, I get calls from panicked people saying, I didn't get enough money, or I didn't get any money. I thought I did everything right. What did I do wrong? And so as I start to ask them questions, I realize very quickly exactly where they went wrong. And that's the reason I decided to put together a special course for high school seniors, actually for families, for both parents and the kids, just before they start filling out the FAFSA so that they don't make the same mistakes. Now, I call the course the FAFSA Preparation Kit. I've talked about it a little bit before, but the cat's out of the bag. I've spent this entire week head down writing the course out. We'll start recording it this weekend, so hopefully it'll be live next week or the following week at the latest. So stay tuned for that. If you have a high school senior and you want to be among the first to get notified, just drop me a comment, say, yes, or send me the course, and I'll send you a link. But it's a course that I decided to do specifically for parents of high school seniors, and it's very, very tactical. Instead of it just being kind of theoretical, like these are the things that, parents do that, help them, or these are the things that parents do that hurt them. This is very, very action-based because it's designed and built specifically with a high school senior in mind, because you're going to have to start filling out these forms starting October 1st. And to get the highest chances of getting the highest amount of financial aid, well, you got to do things early and you got to do them correctly. And unfortunately, because our financial aid system is all wacky, confusing, and just quite honestly out of date, it's pretty clunky. It's easy to make mistakes if you don't know exactly what to do and if you haven't done it and if you're not a professional. So anyways, I'll stop talking about that. And if you're interested, go to the FAFSAkit.com website. It's FAFSAkit.com. For now, you can go there and just download a copy of the ebook and let me know if you want to get notified when the course comes out. But, most parents, maybe even you watching this, will say, well, why do I need to take a course, right? I mean, it's just the FAFSA. It's a financial aid form. I can figure this out. Well, I hope you can, and I hope that you do. And I hope that you get everything right so that you get the money that you need. But unfortunately, a big chunk of those 18 million people prove otherwise, which is why $2 billion remains uncollected every single year. And so I want to help solve that so that if you need that money, I want to teach you exactly what you can do to go and get a part of that $2 billion, put it into your pocket, and then just pay for college so you don't have to go into debt. You don't have to wreck your finances. And it's not just one thing. It's not just filling out the FAFSA. I broke the course out in five main modules. Each one has different lessons, and I want to tell you about them, just to give you a kind of a quick preview, if you will. So the first module with a number of lessons is all about preparing yourself and your finances to complete the FAFSA correctly. Now, this is where so many people make the mistake of not preparing, and they just kind of show up one day and they say, oh gosh, I got to get the FAFSA done. And whether it's early, in the middle or at the end, they usually come very much unprepared or underprepared in the best case. I hardly see folks coming with all the right things from day one. Right? And it's so really important because it's in the preparation step that you pre-qualify yourself for more money. Like that is how you organize and structure your finances and how you report your finances to the FAFSA is going to make among the biggest difference. So it's kind of like building a house. Like I know that we're all excited about like the finished product and, what furniture and, colors and all that you want your house to have and how pretty it's going to look. But you got to start with the boring stuff, like laying the foundation so your house doesn't fall down. It's the same thing if you want to get money to pay for college. In the end, you got to start with laying that foundation. That foundation is organizing your finances in the most financial aid-friendly way. That's the first thing that I teach folks. The second thing is how to submit the FAFSA. Now, again, most people just sort of show up, they'll start filling out the FAFSA, and very quickly they'll get overwhelmed because they'll realize that it's not exactly as simple as they had imagined or as that they've heard. And, they're challenging questions. And so in order to figure out how to answer a question, people start Googling and start asking their friends. And that takes time. And so by not being perfectly prepared, they're basically delaying how long it's going to take them to ultimately complete and submit the form, which puts them further and further and further in line behind all those other people that are submitting their FAFSA sooner and putting themselves ahead of you on collecting free financial aid. So the third lesson, or the third module, is we talk about verification to make sure that the FAFSA was processed and it was processed correctly. Again, virtually none of the parents that I've ever talked to realize that this step is even there or how to do this step. And it's so, so important because, despite how perfectly prepared you might be, it's easy to make a mistake. Maybe your student made a mistake by just getting the wrong digit. And it can just sidetrack and sideline the entire effort that you put into the FAFSA. I can't tell you how many times it happens every single year that a parent will call and say, hey, we did everything right, but we just got our financial aid offer and it's not nearly what we expected. And sure enough, ask them enough questions, you kind of start doing reverse engineering, and we discovered that there was an error somewhere early on in the process that they didn't catch. And it just snowballed. And by the time they discover it in the spring, before their kids have to make the final decision, it's too late. So that's why we talk and teach you guys how to do the verification step. It's so easy. It takes maybe 10, 15 minutes, but it can save you thousands and in some cases tens of thousands of dollars. All right, so that's really important. Then in the fourth step, we talk about actually comparing the financial aid offers that you're getting. And we do this for two reasons. Number one, the first offer is hardly their best offer, and we want to make sure that colleges are actually giving you the highest financial aid awards that they can. So that's the first thing. The second part of that is comparing colleges side by side to make sure that you've stacked them in the right order to prepare you for the next and final step, which is the fifth step, and that's the financial aid appeals. The goal of that step is to get more money. And you do that by one of three different types of financial aid appeals, depending on, your situation. So I teach families each one of those three ways to appeal for more financial aid so that in the end, you're going to get the money that you need to make college affordable without having your kids go deep into debt, without you going into debt, or using the money that's already earmarked for something else like retirement. So anyways, hopefully I'm not boring you to tears, but I gave you this overview. Excuse me, I can't talk anymore. It's Friday, and I've been writing, not talking all week. But I gave you this overview so that you at least are aware, because if you have a younger student in school and you're not yet ready to submit the FAFSA, at least this is going to help plant that seed that filling out the FAFSA is more than just that one thing. It's those five main things broken out into some smaller steps. And that's exactly the course that we're going to be releasing in the next week or so, designed and built specifically for the high school senior. So if you've got a high school senior, check it out. It's massively helpful, and you can get through the course in, I'm going to say, probably 1 to 2 weeks. But in that 1 or 2 weeks, I can guarantee you're going to find thousands of extra dollars that you wouldn't have found. And in many, many cases, I've been doing this now for over 10 years. 20 years as an advisor, but 10 years as financial aid advisor. I can almost guarantee in many cases it's going to be tens of thousands of dollars, because learning how to do this right the first year, you're going to continue doing it for the rest of the 4 years that your student is in college, collecting extra money every year along the way. So this can be a massively, massively valuable investment of your time. And I strongly advise you to learn how to do these 5 things. Whether you take my course, you go do this somewhere else, it doesn't matter. The steps are the same, all right? Prepare yourself financially to qualify for the most amount of financial aid. So position your finances in the most financial aid friendly way. Number 2, submit the FAFSA correctly the first time and submit it early to get yourself in line ahead of those 18 million other families. Step number 3 is that you actually want to verify that the FAFSA was processed and that it was processed correctly. Step number 4, compare the financial aid offers to make sure that each one of the colleges is actually giving you the highest award that they can. And then step number 5, appeal. Ask for more money. You just got to ask in the right way. So if you're interested, let me know here in the comments, and I'll send you the link when it becomes available. You can also go to FAFSAkit.com now, download the ebook that's going to talk about some of these things. And, if you have a younger kid in school, but someone has a senior, forward this to them. Hopefully they'll find it helpful. I mean, this is a bit of a shameless plug for the course. I hope you'll forgive me for doing that, but it's massively helpful. And I really, really want to help as many families as I can this financial aid season get that $2 billion that otherwise will go unclaimed, as it did last year, in the year before, and for 10 years prior. So hoping to make college more affordable this year for a lot of families across the nation. And I sure appreciate your help. If you can support us, if you can share, and which will ultimately help a lot of other people around you. So thanks again. I'll keep you posted. Until then, I wish you all well. Have a great weekend ahead, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.